Disclaimer, there are no major spoilers within this video, written or visual. All gameplay is within around the first 3 hours of someone's playthrough. On a passing through a decrepit cityscape, there's a lady on the brink of blindness.
For most people, this is their last stop.
Given all the dead bodies you've passed, you're sure she's not long for this world. Though she asks you one thing.
May I ask you a favor? Please go to Quart City Hall and bring me my baby.
I took this quest on. The lady isn't doing exactly well, so why not?
Thank you so
Let's at least find this child. After a bit more scavenging, we find a broken baby puppet.
No survivors here.
I don't know what to do with this information, but I decided to bring it back anyway. I again traversed through, keeping myself away from the clutches of these frenzied puppets. And I find this lady again.
Please let me hold her. There, my baby. I missed you so much.
She asks about how her baby looks. We get the agency to make either a true and damning comment, or lying to sate a deteriorating mind.
That's right.
I chose to lie.
Kind one.
I believe anyone who is on death's door shouldn't preoccupy themselves with truths.
My only
They should just try to find peace. If there is an afterlife, they'll know the truth soon enough.
Elena.
Concluding the conversation, she hands us a disc in the open space between us.
Now, please accept my heartfelt gratitude.
We return to our main base of operations and I decide to put on the disc.
Close your eyes.
You know what caused the puppet
Come
frenzy, don't
to
you?
me.
You and the alchemist scheming.
Feel alright. Just dance with me all through the night. Turn it on. Close to you. I feel good.
Finally.
'Cause I just don't feel like a Give it to me, baby.
Lies of P is a game that, on any sort of review that gave it glowing praise, still really eluded my interest. I only decided to budge on it when it was 25% off on a semi-recent Steam sale, which even that was really kind of cutting it. Like a 35 or a 40, I would have probably been like, it's probably good, I'll do it. But 25, I'm like, well, no. Armored Core 6 was also on sale, and it was really sold as a good as Souls-like, which it just wasn't really much of an advertisement. Looked respectable, but not like interesting to me. I even saw Jacob Geller's video on Pinocchio, which, I mean, I'm sure it moved the needle a little bit, but it didn't really sell me. So I decided, just kind of, because I don't know, I just was in the urge to buy a game. I put in the money, and if I don't like it within the 2 hours, hey, I can just refund it. That's around the time it took me to do that quest that I just showed you in the beginning. That was the hook for me.
You can't sneak past me.
Honestly, at the full $60 price tag, Lies of P has polish and refinement that only a dedicated set of fans for these sorts of games can really provide. If you're playing on console, if you only care about single player, as I do, I'd say that this is better than getting any of the original Souls trilogy. I think it does linearity in a way that, in my opinion, if you're a fan of Dark Souls 3, you're going to love it here. If you like the more open nature, yes, you're going to miss it, but I think the gameplay tweaks will, in fact, more than make up for that. I'll do a pitch for Souls players, and I'll do a pitch for non-Souls players. For Souls players, it has a blend of what Sekiro, Bloodborne, and Dark Souls 3 does best, while subtracting things from each game. It keeps Bloodborne's recover your health mechanic, but not through unblocked damage, only through blocked damage. It keeps Sekiro's perfect parry, but not the unavoidable attacks. It has a linear map design like Dark Souls 3, but removes the explore the world to upgrade your Estus aspect. You find quartz, a material that upgrades all sorts of things, including the Estus equivalent. For non-Souls players, it is one of the best action RPGs on the market. It is less open than Elden Ring, which I personally appreciate, less cluttered and more action-focused than any turn-based system, the ability to block most hits, and as long as you damage the enemy back, that HP is recovered, an offering of weapons that can switch blades and handles to your endlessly curious desires, and what I would phrase as a low-stress leveling up system. You aren't getting so many levels that you're locked into one playstyle, or you may feel like you've overinvested. You can kind of always switch to any other weapon you have, and there's also a subsystem where even if you invest in one attribute that's more than the others, you can kind of manipulate your weapon to prefer that trait. And as earlier stated, the story for Lies of P is pretty good. I won't say it will be your favorite of the year by any means, but it's very fulfilling, and there's the music disc items that really do add a more subtle aspect of storytelling that can really pull you in. The P-Organ tree is genuinely excellent. You have key abilities that you want to gain access to, but also smaller abilities that are almost more useful, or literally just other key abilities, which means you're always getting something whenever you have quartz. Having a list of useful options is also fantastic. It's not like 5% bonus damage or in a single additional iframe. It's things that genuinely help and also add unique playstyles to the game. And you also don't gain quartz in rapid bursts or anything, so it also stops you from gaming the system too much, and you're also not spending so much time trying to min-max because you're getting so much of the stuff. I beat the game without even finishing the tree, to be honest, because I just didn't want to grind. Which, speaking of that, if you've played RPGs of any kind, honestly sometimes even including the Souls games, you'd expect some sort of grind. And I'd argue that grinding in this game would actually probably be really dissatisfying, but then again, I put a lot of my EXP into like weight capacity. So I also don't know that if you maybe like put a stat to like level 50, which would be insane, but you technically could, maybe that would be going hard, but I don't know. In my experience, where I ended up, I don't think it would really feel that great to really be trying that hard. But I also will admit, and tryhards are gonna might even discard this whole video, I used the Spectre, which the Spectre, if you don't know, it's essentially the equivalent of asking a friend for help, but it's an in-game NPC which can die. But you have items that you can use to buff him so he can last longer, and it's how I played through a lot of the bosses. But I'll tell you though, this game is not like a Souls game where if you do summon a friend, it can really be a freebie if that person's like a crazy level or anything. No, they tailored this guy. In fact, if anything, to many he probably will die too soon, because it did not make anything a freebie by any metric. That's why I don't really mind the Spectre too much. It made what could have been maybe 40 or 60 deaths into more like 20, which I think is actually a fine exchange. Now, though I did try to mostly ignore the story, there was a plotline or two with individual characters that I couldn't help it. I was enraptured. And being able to actually make choices in this game, though I did make the wrong one near the end, it feels good to actually have this sense of agency. You're not witnessing stories, you're actively contributing to them and learning more from your Krat hotel companions, sometimes even finding more friends in the world. I would argue that it's the right amount of desolate. It's never entirely alone thanks to a fortunate Gemini, but also it's pretty alone at every other point. It's truly crazy how many times my brain tapped into the story due to learning about a certain boss, having a backstory, or learning about a Krat hotel companion, or something else. This game has many hooks to keep you interested, and the lore is dense. I didn't even read much of it on my first go, but if I actually decide to complete this second run, I'm sure I'll take that time and come away with some good stuff. Now, a key thing I want to do is I don't want to just settle this game into the Souls-like category. It's only because that term is only going to grow and grow to become more of a term that dissuades people. It's a well-made action RPG, plain and simple. It's a quality game of modern times, and maybe the only gimmick is that it borrows a lot from Souls, but while it does that, it takes what has existed previously and proves that it, 1, understands its predecessors thoroughly, and 2, decides to make explicit choices to make their own wonderful experience. It's also, I think, shorter than a lot of them, or maybe around on average, which, okay, maybe I'll argue that, but like near the end, I was kind of getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm glad there's not 10 more hours of this, because I don't think I'd want to do it. But I got there. And also, just an important thing, just because a game borrows what has worked before doesn't mean it's derivative. doesn't have to mean that. If anything, Lies of P is like an avid fan trying to get into an audience with the big leagues, the real deals. But the fans of Lies of P tell it that you are valid enough. It doesn't matter if you are human or puppet. You are defined by your own actions, your own definition, your character. You are a beautiful soul. You can do this too. No single life has a patent on doing things great. Maybe you're inspired. Hell, maybe you're downright tracing it, so you learn to do it properly. But you learn and you learn and you twist and you manipulate and you test. And you eventually learn that what you're doing is distinguishably yours. You make decisions that nobody else did, in the package that you did them in. It's okay to be honest, but fudging the truth is good too. It's just about really doing what's right. I had a good time. And I think that's all you need to know.